Well, the weather outside is... Actually, it's clearing up, huh? Yeah, the sun's coming out. Yeah, it's clearing up. Look at that. Now, with the release of Year 7 Season 2, we have been given two different exotics through the seasonal reward track. One of them being the fan favorite marksman rifle, the Shroud, and the other one being the Overdogs exotic gloves. Now, both of them deal amplified damage. However, the Overdogs do not work in PvP at all. These are PvE only amplified talents. Now, I have tested these and I will show you, but today's video is breaking down these gloves, how amazing they are. But the fact is it is for PvE only, just so you know. Here we go. What's going on, YouTube? Kamikazevondoom here with another Division 2 video, so sit back, relax, grab that popcorn, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what you think in the comment section below, and finally, shout out where you're from. It's cool to see where everyone is from. Now, what do I mean by the Overdogs in PvP, and why is this even a subject matter? It is because of this build right here. This is my current solo Dark Zone build. This is the build that I will run and get all of my exotic components and, run in, run out as like a little Dark Zone ninja and get all my exotic components and DZ resources without being spotted. Because I do have pulse resistance on here. I've got the catharsis for healing, perfectly efficient for healing, a decoy to get me out of that situation, and an EMP to stop whatever skills. This is one of my favorite builds to use. Not only for the Dark Zone, but just in general, because it is a tanky build that has some crazy amounts of survivability. But with that being said, I was getting a few comments like, hey, could I use the Overdogs with this? Hey, what do you think about the Overdogs? And I tried them in the Dark Zone. Not only that, but here's the build. Check this out. I almost made a build video on it. Here is my Dark Zone version of the same build, just with the Overdogs, where I took away the Catharsis and I took away the Y'all Gear gloves, and then I switched it out for the Hollow Man named mask and the Overdogs. Now, the reason why people keep talking about the Overdogs is because of the amplified damage it gives you for free. It gives you 30% amplified damage to the lowest ranking enemy in combat. Now, off of first, glance, you would think that in PvP, this would be a slam dunk because it's just you versus the other player. So technically, they're the only person in combat, so wouldn't it work? And the answer is no, sadly. Even when you transfer these over to the PvP settings for normalized, you can still see that it does have it active. But I have a little bit of DZ footage for you. Here, check this out. Alright, make sure I have no shock bullets. I'm just going to use my typical Dark Zone build. Now I need to leave the group so I can pop Rogue. But big shout out to the DoD, Disciples of Doom, and for this video, specifically, big shout out to Kill Me Often. He's going to be using this Striker build, 2 million armor. This thing is wicked. We're just going to test numbers, and I will show you what's going on. But here's my Dark Zone build that everyone is talking about, my best solo Dark Zone build. And here are the numbers. So 41k to the chest. 41 and 71. All right. Yep. So 71 to the head, 41 to the chest. All right. Let's jump over to the Overdogs. 41, 71, 41, 71. All right. So here's the build with the Overdogs. I think that my rogue timer is out now. Yep. There we go. All right. So my rogue timer is out. Remember, this is Kill Me Often with his 2 million armor build. And all I did was switch from my Catharsis to my Overdogs. So 41, 71. Let's see.
Initiating rogue protocol.
38. 38 and 67. So it's about, what, 4K less. 38. Yeah, that was a crit. Okay. No, they're not working. 38. That's supposed to be a 41. And this is supposed to be, what, a 71? Just based off of the other build. So they're definitely not working. I'm supposed to be getting another 30% amp damage. Nope! And there you have it. So they're not working in the Dark Zone, and they do not work in Conflict either. Now, as far as using these in PVE, by all means, they are amazing. Highly recommend. I really do like the Overdogs. I thought that this would be a great build idea for the Dark Zone, but then after testing, I saw that they just don't work. What I did was I had me and Kill Me Often go to one of the corners of the Dark Zone where there were no enemies at all around us. That way, I made sure that in combat, it was just me versus another player. And they were not working, sadly. So, again, the Overdogs do not work in PvP or the Dark Zone. But outside of that, by all means, you can use them in PvE as much as you want. Now, we can break down this build, but I'm probably not going to be using this build because it was aimed for the Dark Zone, and if I can't use this in the Dark Zone, I'm going to switch it up quite a bit because Pulse Resistance is typically my go-to for the Dark Zone. Now, with that being said, this build combination was the Hollow Man with Armor Regeneration and Crit Chance. The other piece of y'all was the backpack with Adrenaline Rush. This one, Armor Regeneration and Crit. Another Pulse mod, that way I have max Pulse Resistance. The third piece of y'all gear for the Pulse Resistance, Holster, again, Armor Regeneration Crit. To go with the Everyday Carrier, Armor Regeneration Crit. And the double Armor Regeneration Emperor's Guard knee pads. Now, this is my setup for the Dark Zone. I mean, you can still use this setup if you want, and then just change out the gloves. But again, here are the Overdogs. They amplify your weapon damage by 30% to the lowest ranking enemy currently in combat. So again, it's currently in combat. So you could use this against the bosses, against hunters, whatever you want, as long as they're the only enemy there in combat. Now, as far as what to group these up with in PvE, because remember, if I'm not worrying about armor regeneration and pulse resistance and things like that, like I typically would in PvP, then I can focus more on just doing actual damage. Now, here's one of the builds that I'm going to be releasing shortly, but this is a tank build with the Tempest, where I'm getting amplified damage and I have Intimidate at the same time going with Bloodsucker. This thing is a lot of fun. It's a run and gun tank that fully, takes advantage of that amplified damage. Now, if you wanted to, you could switch it. I would probably go to like damage, right? So what if, and just spitballing here, what if you were to put on like, say, the Lady Death, and then you could put that with the Overdogs, and then you could get the 30% amplified damage from the gloves, and you get 75% amplified damage from the Lady Death. And then you could start thinking about things like Hunter's Fury. So Hunter's Fury, the Apex Predator talent gives you 20% amplified damage right off the rip, but you could stack that up to 45% amplified damage. And I did show a version of this during the PTS whenever these gloves first came out, because you could get 75, 45, and then another 30. So you're already hitting 150% amplified damage before something like Glass Cannon or Perfect Glass Cannon gets added to the mix. So then you're just running around just, wiping everything out in front of you I mean, the Overdogs are very dangerous for PvE. But then again, this is a PSA to remind you that they do not work in PvP or the Dark Zone. So no Overdogs in the Dark Zone or conflict, please. I was kind of sad figuring that out whenever I put together my armor regeneration build, but hey, it is what it is. Don't kill the messenger. But that's it for me. Did you know that the Overdogs are PvE only? Well, now you do. I'm Kamikazevondoom. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of your day. And peace out.